yesterday we had started the lesson, right? When we learned that the lost child, the child who was lost, actually he had gone to a village fair along with his parents. How beautifully it has been highlighted. The child's emotions, his feelings, his excitement, his curiosity, very natural, natural feelings and natural emotions have been expressed by the child. Usually a child goes to such a place, he gets excited. This is what the boy had done. He had come across the beautiful toy shops, toys attracted him. Further he moved, he was attracted by the dragonflies, the butterflies, the rainbow colors of the balloons, etc., etc. Right? So what it is that he had the curiosity, he wanted to get one or the other thing, despite the fact he knew that he would not get it, still he wanted to express, but he knew his parents very well. While moving along all the path, at last he had reached the final destination, that is the actual venue that was meant for the village fair. Now there he finds all the footpaths merging at one place, completely crowded, and a lot of noise of the people who had come to enjoy, who had come to see the fair just as he had come, right? Now he just goes around the fair. Till now, what you read about what he had seen while coming to the fair, right? Now at the village fair, what are the things, what are the main attractions of a fair that the child witnesses? When you read this, you will recall that this is how you also witness all these things, and the way the child reacts and responds to those very things which are present over there. He responds to the activities that were happening. You also might have done sometime in your early childhood, right? So first of all, when he enters the venue for the fair, right at the entrance only, he finds a sweetmeat seller, right? Anmol, would you please read this paragraph?
Yes, ma'am.
You will read the paragraphs, okay? Because one
Okay.
by one these activities are given and I will sum up those. Yes, please.
A sweetmeat seller of gulab jamun, rasgulla, barfi, jalebi at the corner of entrance, and a crowd pressed round his counter at the foot of an architecture of many colored sweets, decorated with leaves of silver and gold. The child stared open-eyed, and his mouth watered for the barfi that was his favorite sweet. I want that barfi, he slowly murmured, but he half knew as he begged that his plate would not be headed because his parents would say he was greedy. So without waiting for an answer, he moved on.
Yes, thank you very much. Now, what it is, a sweetmeat seller. Sweetmeat seller, the one who is selling the sweets, which usually we call halwai, right? He hawked. To hawk meaning he was calling out loudly to draw the attention, to attract the customers, the people over there to his shop. So he was calling out loudly the names of all the mithais, all the sweets, right? And this very sweet shop was at the entrance of the village fair. And this place was crowded. How do we know this place was crowded? By the people? Because here the author says, a crowd pressed around his counter at the foot of an architecture of many colored sweets. The foot of an architecture of many colored sweets, architecture of many colored sweets is the shelf, right? The shelf, the place where he had displayed all the sweets. That very place was crowded by the people. Those very sweets which were displayed, decorated with leaves of silver and gold. decorated with leaves of silver and gold, meaning all these sweets, they were covered with silver or gold foil. मिठाई यूजुअली हम खाते हैं उस पर यूजुअली एक सिल्वर फॉइल होता है ना,
Yes, ma'am.
जिसको हम वरक कहते हैं वैसे हिंदी में, है ना. तो he is talking about those very sweets which were covered with the foil of silver and gold, and they were displayed. The child, when he saw this mouth-watering sweets, of course, at the mention of these, the mouth is watered. And just imagine when a small child had seen all this, he could easily spot barfi because that was his favorite sweet. He wanted that. It was his desire, but he could not express it with so excitement. He could not express this fully. He simply murmured. To murmur is he just whispered. He just expressed it very low, in a very low voice. He told his parents, I want that barfi. Can you guess why he murmured?
Ma'am, because he know that his parents not allowed to eat it.
Right, because he knew his parents' response. He knew that they would not get him. He knew that his plea would not be heeded, meaning they would not pay attention to his request. They would say that he is greedy, that's why he is asking for the sweets. So he did not wait for his parents' reply, and he just moved on to the next. And next was a stall of a flower seller who was selling flowers. Yes, carry on, Anmol.
A flower seller hawked a garland of fulmohar, a garland of fulmohar. The child seemed irresistibly drawn. He went towards the basket where the flowers lay and half murmured, I want that garland. But he well knew his parents would refuse to buy him those flowers because they would say that they were cheap. So without waiting for an answer, he moved on.
Yes. Now you see that all these paragraphs are very important, though you can easily sum up in your own words. But why they are important? They are very important for MCQs. All right. Almost in every line there is an MCQ. Just as for example, let me go to the previous paragraph. Right? Who hawked gulab jamun, rasgulla, barfi? There may be different multiple answers: sweetmeat seller, flower seller, balloon seller, snake charmer. Right? Then similarly, that what had been displayed at the foot of an architecture, right? The sweets were decorated with different colors, or there can be different options, right? Which sweet the child wanted? Is that barfi, gulab jamun, rasgulla, jalebi? So you see that almost in every line there is MCQ, right? He knew he would not get it because his parents would think that he was greedy, excited, nervous, anything you can say, right? Now, next was the flower seller. He had noticed the flower seller. He also hawked. He also was calling out the people loudly to sell his garlands, the garlands of gulmohar flower. Now, this child, he seemed irresistibly drawn. Irresistibly meaning he could not resist, he could not check, he could not control his desire. And he moved towards the flower seller. And he found his basket, which was full of flowers heaped up. Flowers, that is, the basket was full of flowers. There also he wanted that garland. Again, he expressed in a very low voice because he knew his parents' answer. Right? He knew that if he asked his parents to get him one garland, then they would say that they were so cheap. He knew that his request would be unheeded. He knew he would not get any garland. Therefore, he just said, I want that garland. And then he moved on because he knew that he was not going to get this. Is that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, next.
A man stood holding a pole with yellow, red, green, and purple balloons flying from it. The child was simply carried away by the rainbow glory of their silken colors, and he was filled with an overwhelming desire to possess them all. But he well knew his parents would never buy him the balloons because they would say he was too old to play with such toys, and he moved on farther.
Yes. Now, next, what did he come across? A balloon seller. A balloon seller who was selling balloons, multicolored balloons. That multicolored balloons were looking like the rainbow glory. Why it has been mentioned rainbow glory of their silken colors? Because the balloons were being sold in different colors. Now again, when he saw the balloons, different colored balloons, he wanted to get one, but he knew that he would not get one. He knew his parents, they would not get him. If he asked for, they would say that he is too old to play. He is a big boy, so he should not be playing with such toys then. Therefore, he just did not wait for an answer and he moved on, right? Yes, the next.
A snake charmer stood playing a flute to a snake which coiled itself in a basket, its head raised in a graceful bend like the neck of a swan, while the music stole into its invisible ears like the snake gentle ripping of an invisible waterfall. The child went towards the snake charmer, but knowing his parents had forbidden him to hear such ghost music, as the snake charmer played, he proceeded farther.
Yes, the next was the snake charmer. Now, do remember all these because there can be one long question also. What activities he had seen and what activities had attracted him, right? So, sweetmeat seller, flower seller, balloon seller, and then the snake charmer. The snake charmer who was playing his flute, to a snake. Remember, in one of the lessons you learned about it, right? He was playing his flute to the snake, which coiled. The snake is coiled. I hope you understand the snake is coiled.
Yes, ma'am.
Vinayak, do you understand? Snake is coiled?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So the snake had coiled itself in a basket, right? And now here is an MCQ that its head raised in a graceful bend like the neck of a swan. Which literary device is used here? Yes. Which literary device is used here? The snake's head raised in a bend like the neck of a swan. Its invisible ears like the gentle rippling. It's a simile. Remember, it's a simile. So there can be a question, which literary device has been used here? It's simile here. The snake had raised its head out of the basket, which the author has described like the stiff and straight neck of a swan. The music of the flute that the snake charmer was playing, it had an impact on the invisible ears of the snake. Why does he say that it had an impact on the invisible ears of the snake? Snake does not have ears, but snake can hear, right? Actually, the movement of the flute makes the snake make his movements. Is that clear? So the music stole into its invisible ears like the gentle rippling of an invisible waterfall. You go to the hill station, you cannot see the waterfall, yet you can hear the gentle, the soft sound of the water falling from the waterfall. The same way, the same description the author has given, the author has compared the snake's invisible ears with the invisible waterfall, right? So it had an impact on the snake, which does not have ears. The child went towards the snake charmer, but he knew that he would not be allowed to enjoy that music of the flute because the parents would not give him consent, right? Yes, the next.
There was a, ma'am, what is the pronunciation of this word?
The pronunciation of
There was a
roundabout.
roundabout in full swim. Man, woman, and children carried away in a whirling motion, shrieked and cried with dizzy laughter. The child watched them intently and then he made a bold request. I want to go on a roundabout, please, father and mother.
Yes. Now he had seen a roundabout in full swing. Roundabout is that is moving round, whirling round, right? He had been observing very intently, very carefully. Who? The men, the women, the children, all kind of people enjoying their ride on the roundabout. So he had been watching them carefully and he really wanted to enjoy that. Here he could not resist himself. Otherwise, he had been expressing his desire in a low voice, but here he had been loud enough. And he did express his desire and requested his parents, I want to go on the roundabout. I also want to enjoy the ride. He expressed his desire and he requested his both the parents that he wanted to enjoy the ride. But after that, what happens? Let's see. Yes, Vinayak, you read. Vinayak, can you hear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
There was no reply. He turned to look at his parents. They were not here. Ahead of him. He turned to look on the other side. They were not here. There. He looked behind. There was no sign of them.
Yes.
Full-
Just a minute, Vinayak, after every passage you will wait, okay?
Okay, ma'am. Okay,
Yes.
ma'am.
Now what happened? He turned to his parents, requesting them for the ride, that he wanted to enjoy that ride. But as he turned, he did not get any reply. As he turned towards his parents, he could not find his parents, right? He turned to look on all the sides, but unfortunately, he had not got his parents. What does it mean? That he was left behind. The parents had moved ahead. So he was what the title of the story says?
Lost.
The lost child. He had become a lost child. He was lost because he was left behind. The parents had moved further and he had tried to spot them everywhere, but there had been no sign of his parents. Now let us see in the further paragraphs, when he did not find his parents, on finding, how does he realize that he was left alone? How does he realize that he was left behind? And then what is his reaction at this? Yes, Vinayak, carry on, please.
A full deep cry rose within his dry throat, and with a sudden jerk of his body, he ran from where he stood, crying in real fear, Mother, father! Tears rolled down from his eyes. Hot and fierce, his flushed face was convulsed with fear. Panic stricken, he ran to one side first, then to the other, hither and
Hither and
thither,
thither.
in all directions, knowing not where to go. Mother, father, he wailed. His yellow turban came untied, and his clothes became muddy.
Yes, now what had happened? When he did not find his parents, right, he started crying. He started crying, he was running here and there. Why? Because he panicked. He got feared. He was crying in fear. Mother, father, he had been calling out because he did not find them anywhere. So he was looking very desperate, very helpless, because he had wanted his parents at that time and they could not be seen anywhere. He was crying, he was weeping as the tears were shedding from his eyes. His flushed face was convulsed with fear. Try to understand. His flushed face, his excitement. Till then, he was so excited to see everything. He was enjoying watching everything. But now all that excitement was convulsed, was changed into fear. Now that excitement had gone. Now he had become so feared. He was so scared because he was left alone. He was running here and there, up and down, trying to find his parents somehow. But he didn't know where to go. He didn't know what to do. Mother, father, he wailed. He wailed, he cried. And his clothes, they became dirty, they became muddy. His yellow turban, that also became unfastened. So now he realized why he panicked, because he had realized that he was left alone. He realized that he was left behind. He realized that his parents had gone away from him. So he was lost, right? Yes, next, Vinayak.
Having run to and fro in a rage of running for a while, he stood defeated, his cries suppressed into sobs. A little distance on the green grass he could see through his filmy eyes. Men and women talking. He tried to look intently among the patches of bright yellow clothes, but there was no sign of his father and mother among these people. He seemed to laugh and talk just for the sake of laughing and talking.
Yes. Now what it is, he was running to and fro, meaning he was running here and there. Why? That is to search his parents. But he felt defeated. Why he felt defeated? Because he did not get them anywhere. For long he had been crying, but he was so tired of crying that now he was sobbing only. At little distances, there was green grass. He tried to find them there. He could not. So many men and women he had seen. They were talking, they were laughing, right? In the midst of those men and women, he had been, or most of them were wearing bright yellow clothes. He had been watching them. He had been looking through them very carefully, hoping that he would recognize his parents. He would spot his parents. He would find them. But it was all in vain. But all his efforts, they were futile, they were useless, because he did not get his parents anywhere. What do you think might have happened? Is it the carelessness of the child, or it is the carelessness of the parents?
Ma'am,
Ma'am, the parents.
child.
The carelessness of the child. Okay, one says the child, the other says parents. Right, Vinayak, how do you say it is the carelessness of the parents?
Ma'am, because they should have
Yes.
be with they should have be with their child.
Okay. And
Not with-
how do you say it was child's carelessness?
Ma'am, because child was busy for saw the sweets and all things.
Yes, I tell you, I would agree with Vinayak. You know why? Because the children are innocent. The children are innocent. The child had shown his curiosity, his fascination for the things which he does not see every day, right? And his that curiosity and fascination for these very things, it was but natural. It was very natural. And usually whenever we go to such places, in particular the crowded places, the parents have to be extra cautious when they are carrying small children with them. So somewhere it is definitely the carelessness of the parents. They had noticed that the child had been trying to divert their attention by referring to one or the other thing. When he says, I want barfi, I want a garland of gulmohar. However, they did not pay any attention, but he did try. So they could make out that the child is curious and excited. So they have to be extra cautious about it. So somewhere, how could they move ahead without the child? And such a small child when the parents are always holding the child's finger. So definitely somewhere it is the carelessness of the parents, right? Okay, yes, carry on, please.
He ran quickly again, this time to a shrine to which people seemed to be crowding. Every little inch of space here was congested with men, but he ran through people's legs, his little sob lingering. Mother, father. Near the entrance to the temple. However, the crowd became very thick. Men
Jostled,
each jostle each other, heavy men with flashing murderous eyes and hefty shoulders. The poor child struggled to thrust a way between their feet, but knocked to and fro by their brutal movements. He might have been trampled underfoot had he not
had
shrieked
he not shrieked,
had he not shrieked at the highest pitch of his voice, "Father, mother!" A man in the surging crowd heard his cry and stopping with great
stooping
difficulty,
and stooping. Yes,
stooping with great difficulty, lifted him up in his arms.
yes. Now you see that what it is. Again, he had been running here and there, right? This time he ran towards a shrine. Shrine meaning a holy place, could be a temple, right? He saw that the people had been moving, rushing towards that temple. The temple was crowded by the people, right? So, I mean, that he says every little inch of space here was congested with men, meaning it was such a crowded place that he had to run through the people's legs to reach the shrine. And there also he started shouting, he started calling out, Mother, Father, near the entrance of the table. But it was so badly crowded, nobody had heard his cries. Nobody could pay attention to what he was saying because the men, they were jostling each other, they were pushing each other. Heavy men, hefty, well built, right? Well built people with murderous eyes. That means evils and good, all kind of people were there. And the poor child, he was struggling to get a passage so that he could go here and there and he could find his parents. He might have been trampled underfoot. It was so crowded that he was afraid that he could be trampled, he could be crushed by them. Anyway, he had cried at the highest pitch of his voice, Father, Mother. Nobody heard his cries except one stranger, one strange man. He could hear his cry. He stooped with great difficulty, stooping, bent with great difficulty. He saw the child being lost in the midst of the crowds. He noticed him, he lifted him up in his arms. And let us see if the man is really going to help him or he is also an evil man. Yes, yes, Vinayak. Yes, Vinayak.
Sorry, ma'am, I was muted.
Yeah, yeah.
How did you get here? Child, whose baby are you? The man asked as he stared clear of the mass. The child wept more bitterly than ever now, and only cried, I want my mother, I want my father.
Yes, the strange man, he wanted to, this shows that he wanted to help the baby. He wanted to help the child. So he was trying to inquire from him about his parents, about his family background, so that he could help. But the poor child could not say anything because he was so distraught. The child was so distraught, he was so traumatic that he did not say anything. He could only utter, I want my mother, I want my father. Because that time he did not want to talk about anything except his parents. Yes. Yes, Vinay.
The man tried to soothe him by taking him to the roundabout. While will you have a ride on the horse? He gently asked as he approached the ring. The child's throat tore into a thousand stills, sobs, and he only shouted, I want my mother, I want my father.
Yes, now this is something you see, you observe very carefully. There can be a question on this. Now, what it is, the man first wanted to soothe him, meaning wanted to comfort the child. He wanted to calm him down because he had been crying and crying only. So he just took him towards the roundabout. He thought that he would be attracted by the roundabout. So he just wanted to divert his attention. And he asked him if he would ride on the horse. But the child did not answer. The child had only been sobbing and sobbing, and he only shouted, I want my mother, I want my father. Now you just imagine, children, a few minutes before he had been near the roundabout, he wanted to enjoy those rides. Isn't it? This is for what he had turned to his parents. He knew his parents would not agree to this, but now he is being offered the ride, but he is not ready to take the ride. Why do you think he does not find it interesting or attractive now?
Ma'am, because he got separated from his mother and father.
Yes, now what has happened? Now his priority has changed, right? Now his priority has changed. Earlier, his priority was to get that ride, but now he wants his parents. The child also feels protected and secure in the company of the parents. The child could make out that the man would give me right, but the man could not give him security. He would not feel secured with the man. Is that clear? So do remember this thing, that why he was not, why this ride was not attractive to him later, which actually he wanted. This was the reason. I hope it is clear.
Yes, ma'am. The man headed towards the place where the snake charmer still played on the flute to the swaying cobra. Listen,
Oh, sorry. Yes.
listen to that nice music, child, he pleaded, but the child shut his ears with his fingers and shouted his double pitched strain. I want my mother, I want my father. The man took him near the balloons, thinking the bright colors of balloons would distract the child's attention and quieten him. Would you like a rainbow colored balloon? He persuas-
Persuasively.
persuasively asked. The child turned his eyes from the flying balloons and just sobbed. I want my mother, I want my father.
Yes. Okay, carry on.
The man still trying to make the child happy, bore him to the gate where the flower seller sat. Look, can you smell those nice flowers, child? Would you like a garland to put round your neck?
Yes. Now what it is, the man had tried to please him. The man had tried to make him comfortable. The man had tried to quieten him, to calm him down. He wanted to divert his attention. Therefore, he had taken him to all those things, to all those places which he knew would attract the child. Perhaps the man knew the psychology of the children, what the children would be attracted to. And in fact, the child was fascinated by all these things earlier. Wasn't he fascinated by the snake charmer? Wasn't he fascinated by the balloons seller selling balloons, or the flower seller selling the garlands? Yes, he was. But now, when this man is offering him everything, he simply is showing no interest. He is absolutely disinterested in all these things and the activities because he feels insecure in the absence of his parents. He wants only the company of his both the parents, and that's what he keeps on He keeps on telling the man persuasively, I want my mother, I want my father. Persistently, he has been asking him. He had been repeating the same thing, I want my mother, I want my father. Man still leaving no stones unturned, trying all efforts to make the child happy. He took him to the flower seller also. But do you think that the child would accept a garland to put around his neck? No, he would not. The child turned his nose away from the basket and reiterated his sob, I want my mother, I want my father. The child had only one focus. What? That he wanted the company of his both the parents. Thinking to humor his disconsolate charge by a gift of sweets, the man took him to the counter of the sweet shop. Thinking to humor, that is, just in order, thinking to make him happy. He thought that he would take him his disconsolate charge. He thought that this would, though he knew it is not going to console him, he knew that it is not going to pacify the boy, yet he thought that he would offer him some sweets, right? So he asked the child, what sweets would you like? The child turned his face from the sweet shop and only sobbed, I want my mother, I want my father. What does it depict? This depicts the child's love and affection for his parents. Unconditional love and affection for his parents. His bonding with his parents. How the child feels secured. So many things are there to make him happy. So many things are there to attract him. But they are all futile. They are all meaningless if his parents are not there along with him. That's all. Right, Vinayak?
Yes,
So
ma'am.
tomorrow at 3:30, okay?
Okay, ma'am. Good evening. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, fine. Goodbye. You can leave now.
Bye, ma'am.
Yes.